Yes. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Reviewing with Gyoza Planet with your host, Gyoza Planet. Hello, I'm the little talking gyoza in the corner. I watch your guys' TAVG gameplay, and I hope you guys get better at the game by giving you guys feedback. I also do guides and stuff like that. Anyways, so today we are back with episode 3 of the EATER series. If you don't know what this is, basically a player on the in the landfall community called EATER uh, has historically been known as not a very good player. So, I decided to have a bit of fun and made a bet with him. And he lost that bet. And so now he's basically he's subject to 4 of these videos where I go through and I explain and improve his gameplay. We've already done 2 of these. First one was helping him quit his Storm plus dual auto pistols addiction. Second one was helping him improve like his decision making. And now we have the third video of these, and there will be one more later on. So I will bring up the previous notes. Here we go. So, this was for the previous video. Number 1, avoid being out in the open. This was a very big issue he had, is that he would just spend all of his time out in the open, even when he didn't need to, and especially like after he got downs or something, and all of his guns were out of ammo, he was low on health and everything, and when he could have retreated to cover to heal up, he didn't, and I got him killed. Number 2, he barely used any grenades whatsoever. It was like he would use like 0, maybe 1, maybe 2. Third issue was target priorities. He would shoot like the person of like least importance in a fight first instead of the person who was like a serious issue. So that's not fantastic. And then the last 2 points, the heal first after fights, not looting. Nah, that's kind of the thing where he just kind of loots and then does not pay attention to much else that's going around him. And the last point is that he would start fights with the tool that gets you the most benefit. He has a tendency to just start fights with whatever weapons he has, so either like his like mid-range weapon or whatever it is, instead of like throwing a grenade, for example, and managing to get himself like starting a fight with a grenade, which is really good because you can get a down on an enemy very, very quickly, and that immediately leverages the fight in your favor instead of just taking a couple pot shots and it doing basically nothing. So, that was the previous notes. Now we have the new notes. So, notes. It is December 6th, I believe. 7th. Oh, wow. Okay. Alrighty. So, let's see. Also, yeah. So we are starting mid-game, which is not usually a bit odd choice, but
Now I know I got made fun of for running Storm last time.
also he tends to just ramble a bit, so let's see.
Got really lucky with it, and Storm weapons didn't.
Auto revolver, G18C. Nah. I mean, it's an alright close range option, but I would look for a submachine gun.
At least I hope so.
Literally any. You're at Area 64. There's like some of if not the most loot on the map in this single area. Like seriously. Alright. Okay. Is this? So he loots for a bit,
Still,
and then alright.
I'm wrong often, but I'm particularly wrong right now. Get this shit out of here. Get this shit on here.
Okay, so I think he's going over the pyramid here.
Rando
Yeah.
on the
Okay, so this is the first fight here. First issue. Yet again, you start the fight with the wrong weapon. Damn. Hold on.
Rando on the hill. Who's gonna Oh, look at those. Rando on the hill.
First thing you should be doing here is starting to spray with your M16. You could argue that you need a grenade, but given that these people obviously did not hear you coming at all, they did not pay attention to the grapple, you don't really need to. Just start with the M16, you could get a good amount of damage. You do eventually start doing that far too late. So what happens is that you run out of ammo, you narrowly avoid a musket shot. Okay. This is good and also terrible at the same time. The good part here is that you actually did some target priority. You went for the guy with the musket and the Mossberg, so pretty good decision making there because they are the biggest threat here. It's a matter of priority. Problem is they had a Mossberg and you got yourself into Mossberg range, despite the fact that you can sit like a bit further outside Mossberg range with the Mac 10s. You can sit at like 8-10 meters, and the Mossberg is really struggles a bit there.
Yeah, no. Just gonna.
Now you do manage to land a nice cage grenade here, except
No.
your your inventory management is quite honestly terrible. So the point that when you pull out the fire grenade, it does nothing because the person's already escaped. You do manage to down them though, so fair, I guess. Oh, yeah.
So hard it worked.
Okay.
One down.
Alrighty, so you get yourself 2 kills.
Oh, he had a Mac 10 on him. Little boy with a Mac 10.
Uh,
I might want that, honestly.
don't sort your inventory out in the open. You're going to get yourself shot.
I know I'm going to. But I might. Okay, well, I'm
Also practice your grapples.
just whiffing my shots here. Too random.
As he said, he is whiffing his shots. This is an issue that will come up frequently.
It's 2 down.
So you manage to get a couple kills, and now you start moving. I believe you get in a car, and then which fight is this? Oh, right. Okay. So yet again, you got another fight here. You got somebody who does not see you. I should just use the K key. Okay. You have somebody who does not see you. Somebody coming in a car. What do you think you should start with fight with? The answer is a grenade. You have somebody with a lot of blessings not paying attention. Usually when somebody has a lot of blessings, that means either A, they just got lucky. Okay, fair. You can just shoot them. B, they're a decent player because they looted those blessings from somebody else. Seeing as they're leaving a point of impact, it's probably leaning more towards that they're slightly better. Just start with an implosion here. Especially, actually, start with an implosion here because once you get a couple of hits with your M16, you can run with your Mac 10s, which need to be short range. And if you manage to get the implosion on the person, you can actually close the distance to use your Mac 10s. And then you just play this terribly. Yeah. And then you quit the lobby. Yeah, point number 1. Start fights with the tool gets you the most value. This is the 3rd time this point is coming up, and it's like, at first it was funny, but it's a serious issue now. You're playing solo squads. This means that you're always going to be at a disadvantage, either just like a sheer numbers disadvantage because you have to shoot through 3 people's worth of health bars, or numerous disadvantages such as you're taking more incoming gunfire, you have to deal with more grenades and grenade spam, you have less options when you're fighting, you have less options when you're fighting, etc., etc. Being able to start a fight and let's say with like a grenade or like your long range weapon or something, and if you start a fight with a grenade, you can probably get yourself a down, and if not a down, you can get somebody out of a fight, because most people when they're at 15-10 health and they have teammates, they're not going to fight, they're going to back up and heal and let their teammates do all the work for the most part. That's incredibly valuable because even if they aren't down, you at least bought yourself 2 to 3 seconds without one of the enemy players. If you don't have a grenade, or if you don't want to start a fight with grenades, start it with the right weapon. Even if it's something like a rifle, and I know you're not very good with rifles in medium range, landing 1 or 2 shots, that's still like half their health bar. That reduces the amount of shots you need to hit once you close the distance by a good amount, especially if you're running a like sheer number of if you're running weapons like the Mac 10s, which is just land hits, and it's like how many bullets can I land, not how much damage can I deal, because the Mac 10s don't deal much damage. You rely on Storm to use them well. So yeah. Okay, so he lands Western, 1911, and the Deagle.
It's fresh picking.
that's a pretty good start.
Frank, I just like bullying them. Very easy.
Does much happen here, or is this just you looting?
Oh, really?
Okay,
I'd rather have it than P90.
okay. Yeah, I'm gonna just kind of bring this up.
Oh,
Just put the compensator on the AK. Like, I get that you don't want to use the AK at medium range because you don't like fighting at medium range because you have terrible aim. Just put it on there. The P90, like, most people do not have recoil issues with the P90. If you do, use something like the suppressor because it's probably a better option. Or yeah, mostly the suppressor. Right now, it's just you're losing value putting it on the P90, especially because you're probably going to miss a lot of shots with the P90s. You're gonna have to swap to your AK, and if you're missing shots with the AK because of the recoil, yeah.
reliable. I don't know, a lot of shots for
But
a kill.
it's nitpicky, but still okay.
At
Um,
fire musket, whole point plays it like that. Everyone I've seen is just running fucking, aha, musket, 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 musket spam, musket spam. Oh, I love musket spam.
I will admit, you do loot slow, but I'm also guilty of that. Okay, so for all of you viewers out there, we have a situation in front of us. We have seen a grenade go off, and we have just seen an ice wall go out. And since it's pointed here, that damn it, hold on, I didn't have my pen tool. Okay, so we have just seen an ice wall go out, and because of the direction, it probably comes from this way because it depends on the direction you throw it at is where the ice is going to come from. Which probably means that because of this, there's going to be somebody over here-ish. It also means there's probably somebody over here-ish because that's somebody obviously threw the ice axe to stop getting shot or to block grenades or stuff like that. So you've got two potential like either players or squads because this is solo squads. And you are also arriving into probably the busiest hot area on the map. So what are you gonna do? Or actually, here's the better question: what do you think the EATER does? Does he either A, do the responsible thing, get out here and cut through the tents, get up here to get like an angle, or like to get an angle here and see the situation? B, get out here and climb up top to ambush the person that's in here and then take out the people down here, or C, does he drive straight forward into the ice wall, get out of his car, and suddenly put himself in the middle of pretty much everybody else? The answer is C. This is like the single worst thing you could possibly do. Like, because, to reiterate, you have an unknown squad in this area that you're currently running to, an unknown squad over to your left, to your right here, that you don't know about and that can see you, and you also might have another squad over here. You're also out in the middle of the open, and you also have no good escape routes.
There's people here. Honestly.
And as you'll notice, he says there's people there, and he proceeds to get shot about 1 second later.
I do care.
And those were the people on the right that I was talking about earlier.
I care a lot. That's Fredo. Hi, Fredo.
Now, okay, props to you. You do manage to do a pretty good play here. If you didn't notice, he gets absolutely beamed. He throws out an implosion grenade, and the other player, because they are stuck out in the open, because actually this was pretty bad play on the other person's end. It's a player by the name of Fredo. Fredo, sorry, that was just not good of you. He was stuck out in the open, and he couldn't really do much, so he gets hit by the implosion. EATER capitalizes on this, runs over the ridge, starts shooting him, and because he was low on ammo, because he had been shooting him with his gun, he either needed to reload, or even if he had to reload, he was still like disoriented from the grenade. So
hit the bricks, Fredo.
All right.
Someone threw a grenade at me. Horrendous whiff.
Okay, quick tip: when you're about half health, don't run towards gunfire.
Amazing.
For example, do something like this: run to cover and heal up. This is actually a pretty decent play. For the most part, except for the fact that you come down here.
Holy shit.
You have an AK, and you have height advantage over the other people. There was pretty much no reason for you to do this, actually. Even worse, actually, so there are a couple of reasons this was a terrible idea. Number one, you just managed to land the bouncy grenade hit on this person. That's anywhere between 30 to 60 damage. And they might have health blessings, maybe not. It doesn't really matter. So what it does mean is that there are about 2-3 AK shots. They're moving around kind of not really, they're not actively trying to avoid you or your shots. You can shoot them. Even with your terrible aim, you can land at least 2 shots over like 5-10 seconds. That's one person down. Number two, you are putting yourself, yet again, you're putting yourself out in the open at a disadvantage. You can very clearly see people sitting up here, or at least this one person sitting up here. If you go down here, you're suddenly in the line of fire of, actually, hold on, that's a bad color. You're in the line of fire of this guy, and then maybe anybody else who is in this area behind him, including all over here. Well, maybe not all the way over here, because, yeah, they can't really see through the tent. But still, it's a really, really bad position to be in. And that's why you do exactly what you do, and you proceed to grapple directly into the person's face. They are a good shot, and they actually managed to land a couple of hits on you. So you managed to down them. Congratulations. Throw a splinter grenade on their corpse. Most people, what they do once their teammates are down is that they go to try and revive them, especially since you've gone around the corner. Now, admittedly, what you could do and what you probably should have done here is heal up a bit in the parkour over these little rings here, because you can't actually jump on these and then jump up top here and surprise people. Even if you don't do that, still throw it down, because the person knows that you'll probably be out of the fight for at least 2-3 seconds. So throw down a splinter grenade. Worst case scenario, you just deal a bit of damage to the down guy, and it takes their teammate a bit more time to heal up, and you lose a grenade. Best case scenario, their teammate goes to revive them, they don't spot the splinter grenade, or they spot it too late. You either get a ton of damage on them that you can heal up and then run over and take advantage of, or even better, you down them, and suddenly you've got 2 out of who knows how many people down, and you can just heal up in peace because both of them are down, and anybody else is not there. Yeah, this was just terribly played. You run around this corner into the person that's down and their teammate that, as I mentioned right there, they're sitting right there trying to revive their buddy. Also, your target priority here is rather awful, I'm going to be honest. Instead of shooting the person that hit you for about like 100 damage or so in a matter of a short amount of time, the pink guy, which is, instead of going for this guy who was the much bigger threat, and on top of it, he has just been recently revived, so even though he has like a healing blessing, unless it's a legendary relax, he's not back up at maximum health. He's like 1-2 bullets maximum. Shoot him with the AK, swap to the next guy. Instead of going for this guy, you go for this guy who is maximum health, maximum ammunition. You are neither of those, and also is now behind you. Also, yet again, you put yourself out in the open. You're now in the line of fire of this guy and this guy, because as soon as you go around the barrels, you're going to be directly in their face to get shot. And that's exactly what happens. So, yeah, yet again, this is... use more grenade... I suppose... target priority. It's still an issue. I'm not going to elaborate on it, though, because I do think you get better at it as the matches go on. But still. Figure out who your biggest target is as of that moment, shoot them first, make sure they're out of commission, and then deal with everybody else. Okay, you do the thing. You do not want the curse. Okay. Alrighty, so we have a tall work drop, which should be interesting. Oh boy. VSS, okay. VSS and Mossberg. Yeah, that's a alright combo, I'll say. He's just rambling because he's mad, which is fair.
The flintlock is like hit or miss. So
grenade. Just use a grenade. Even a knockback grenade would have been useful. Or like, hell, if you throw a wall grenade, like right here, it's probably gonna block off their path. They get stuck. You have a Mossberg, you shoot them. Normal grenade, you can maybe kill 1, 2, all 3 of them. Knockback grenade, they all go flying. You jump in, you shoot them because you have a Mossberg. Seriously. And then on top of that,
The flintlock is like hit or miss.
first off, do not AGS with a Mossberg at that close range. You really don't need to. Just hip fire.
So it feels kind of different.
This is Mossberg range. This is not VSS range.
No way I die there. If I die here.
And now you're being shot by the other person. Yet again, this is an issue that happened last time. Using the right weapon for the right range. If you're in close quarters, use your close quarters weapon, which in this case is the Mossberg. If you're at medium-long range, use your medium-long range weapon, which in this case would be the VSS. You could have ended that fight and not lost 50, 60 health if you just used the Mossberg.
Get the hell out of here.
You were quite literally at 1 health.
Yeah, go get your friend. No.
Also, this is just badly played on your end. You know there's other people here. Like, you need to work on your decision making. I'm gonna be honest. Okay, so we're gonna rewind here. You've just gotten a kill. You know there are other people around, and you need to heal up. First thing you should do, find a safe area and heal up. You have a wall grenade. You also have corners. And you know that there's probably nobody else all the way over here because you haven't heard any gunshots and because everybody else from the squad was moving that way, towards your right. So, okay, even then, even if you don't do that, the first thing you should do is you should go up and get some height. These little walkway things here are very good at getting up fast. You can go up tall work very, very quickly with them. It's the best way to do so, actually. So what you should be doing is you should be focusing on getting height so you can't get shot by the people below you, healing up, and then you can jump down and chase after them.
Yeah, go get your friend.
Also, awareness here.
No.
Moment you see the guy, drop your thing, shoot him, or even don't shoot him, back up.
No.
You're lucky that they're a terrible shot. And then you don't go and run after the other person whilst you're at 14 health. You're just asking to die here. B. You're asking to die. You quite literally are at pretty much every single gun in the game, minus the P90 and the PPSH, can kill you with 1 bullet to the torso right now. And your immediate plan of action was to jump down and try and kill this person. Which is terrible, not only because are you probably going to whiff all your shots and not kill this person, but because you're still in the line of fire of the guy on your right, who actively shot you beforehand, and the M16 does more than 14 damage per bullet. So, not only are you in line of fire of that guy, you're now in line of fire of this guy, and then maybe perhaps anybody else who is around here. And then yet you still decide to go ahead and try and kill this guy. You also didn't use any of your grenades. You had, like, a ton of grenades. If we rewind here, and what you decide to do instead is, I don't know, throw a knockback grenade down here instead of jumping off like a madman. What happens is that this person that you're running after gets launched. This person doesn't get revived. That still buys you time to heal, or turn around and shoot the person that's chasing you with the M16, or drop down and heal, or follow it up with another grenade, or shoot them as they are stunned from the knockback grenade, or numerous other options. And instead you decide to do none of that, shoot the person, and then instantly get dinked because you have pretty much 0 health. Decision making, B. Decision making. Please improve it. Where's the next fight at? Oh, right, it's Finland. Okay. So drop Finland. And, okay, so you've got a decent setup here. You've got an AK-47 and an AKS. That's pretty good. You've got close range power and you've got long range power, and you got 60 rounds. So between the two, so should be good. And now you've got a ton of blessings, which is fantastic. You also have a Tech 9. You should probably grab that Tech 9, I'm going to be honest. Especially over the Beretta. Okay, whatever. Alrighty, so, there's probably people around here. Actually, I think you just heard gunshots.
Love this gun. Glockinator. I'm gonna. Fuck.
Where is
the
this?
sleeper?
So you see somebody jumping right over there, actually, if we rewind.
What's the word?
Right here. Now, I will admit they do blend in a bit, but you can still see them, and even if you can't see them, you should still be able to hear them.
Thumbnail.
And also see them now, and that was decently well played. You really should not ADS there, though that's way too close range to be actually ADSing.
Where's your friends? Point me in the direction. That way.
Okay, that's actually pretty smart. Most people tend to crawl towards their teammates when they're downed, so he's following that direction, except this is Finland, and a lot of people tend to be scattered, so it's unreliable. Oh, no, so you do spot the other guy, and I'm actually, well, the other guy appears for you, and you don't. Okay, decently played.
Shot, man. Next time,
You
don't use one.
need to improve your aim, but
Fucking mage,
yeah.
Fuck the mage.
Alrighty, this is just a lot more looting. Oh my goodness. How much of this is looting? A lot of it. Okay, what is this? Please tell me, I really hope that's not a long barrel on your Glockinator.
Don't let. Who said that there's not one place where you can find people? Was it Inversal? Solar? I don't remember.
Yeah.
The answer is always industry. Don't know. Let me look.
Okay, what do you...
There's no one.
Yeah, okay, so the long barrel is on you. Okay, phew. Okay. This is a terrible idea, I'm gonna be honest. You don't have any speed blessings. You have dash. Dash is nice. It's a very good blessing. Problem is, dash only lets you cover short distances. It's very good for, like, confusing people or covering ground quickly to get to cover or stuff like that. It's not very good for running at people and closing gaps. You do have a teleport and you also have a slot off, except what that means is now your hands lie like your only main form of damage is a Glockinator, which is a very, very short range weapon.
No regret.
And you do not have very good aim. You can see why this is a bad idea, right? This is...
Oh my god, that could have been awful.
Oh god, it's just...
Okay. Sawed off.
Okay.
You guys.
It's just... Okay. I will admit, this is your only weapon, so you do start this fight pretty well, but... Don't chase people into houses like this. This is the easiest way for them to turn around and just shoot you. You have a splinter grenade, throw in the splinter grenade and wait. Or use one of your many movement items to get up on top and wait yet again. Either they'll just take all of the damage and die, or they'll be sufficiently hurt, or they'll avoid it and run out directly into your waiting crosshairs.
Thank you.
But this is the easiest way to get Mossberg, Blunderbuss, the headshot, just... Okay. Jump blessing is actually a pretty smart play here, if you weren't using the Glockinator. Now, the reason the jump blessing is quite good is, actually, hold on, yeah, I'll pull up the diagram. Well, no, never mind. Not yet, but... Jump blessing is an incredibly good blessing, because what it does is it lets you not only stay in the air, it also lets you parkour a lot more than you're normally able to, and I will admit you do have a ton of mobility, but it's still limited. Jumps is pretty much infinite mobility. Well, it's constantly recurring. You don't need to wait for spell book to recharge or for a weapon to reload or whatever it is and everything. It's quite good at that.
Your donation in blessings.
It's also pretty good for like for when you're fighting close quarters combat because if you use it correctly when you're fighting in the air, people you tend to make yourself a hard target to hit. However, EATER is not very good at this, as we have seen previously.
Jumps are
He
very strong.
tends to do what's known as air stalling, where he just jumps in place in midair, which basically just makes you a floating dummy. So,
Hello.
okay, chasing smoke trails to find people to fight. Okay, that's
Oh,
understandable.
aren't they so innocent? Well, now they're dead. Hey, I've seen that guy before.
You should probably reload your sawed off. And also not be focused on looting because you saw 2 smoke trails and you've only downed 1 person.
I did see 2 smokestacks.
Uh-huh. And you do mention that right after.
Or when I saw him show up. He doesn't appear to be moving. Yeah,
Okay.
you. Totally sniped.
Okay, you waste time here. You have a jumps blessing and you have a sawed off. You could quite easily make this. You also still have a dash. You could actually make that. And you get yourself a legendary spray. Now this would be fantastic if you had literally any other weapon. Except for the Glockinator, it's pretty much pointless because the spray blessing is very good because it gives you an absolute truck ton of fire rate, and also reload speed and fire rate and reload speed and magazine size, which is really good because what you can do is you can make something like the AK, or actually I suppose like the Scar, which tends to struggle a bit at close quarters fights, into really, really deadly close quarters weapon, and since it's 4 shots to kill, it's very deadly. And you can also help with the slightly lower magazine size it has. Or for something like, well, let's say the Thompson, it's quite good because the Thompson has a slightly slower fire rate than most of the other submachine guns, so you can help boost that up a bit. Sorry, water. Except you're using the Glockinator. The main drawback of the Glockinator is not the fire rate or the magazine size. It's quite honestly fine in those regards. Those are actually things that it doesn't need more of. What it does need is that it needs range and it has fairly slow bullets and a okayish amount of recoil.
Because that means.
Except when you throw on spray, you're not fixing any of these problems. You're just giving yourself more fire rate. Basically, you're taking the elements of the weapon that are already quite good and you're making them like a bit better, and you're not solving any of the issues that the weapon already has. It's kind of like, I suppose, giving what would be a good example? Let's say you gave the minigun like a poison blessing selling. Poison blessing is actually a pretty good blessing. It lets you get more damage over time on things like that. It doesn't help, mainly because the biggest issue with the minigun is that its per bullet damage is low, so poison damage is kind of less valuable, and it has really bad recoil and really bad spread, so it can't really use it past a certain amount of time. You're doing more damage. That's fantastic. A minigun already does like some of, if not the single most continuous amount of damage in the game. You don't need more damage with a minigun. What you need is more range and more accuracy, and you're not solving that by giving a minigun poison. This is the same issue with the Glockinator. You're basically not making your loadout any better. Like, statistically, is it better? Yes, you can deal more damage more quickly, but you're still going to be suffering the same as you did beforehand, just slightly less because you're now able to kill people like 10-20% faster. So you see these people, and you drop in on them. And you don't start the fight with a grenade, which would have really helped, because I don't think these people saw you, actually. Yeah, no, they quite honestly do not see you. You could have quite easily either thrown a splinter grenade behind these rocks here, which there's not really much escaping from. You could have thrown a dynamite, which, like, somewhere around here, which, if the person is careless, they're going to walk into, and you can just wait for that. Or you can actually throw the dynamite, go over here, take down the person over here, and then loop back afterwards and take down the person over here that's either low or dead to your dynamite. Or you could have thrown a volley grenade, like towards where they were running, and it either kills them or it spooks them, which gives you time to start chasing after them. You do none of that. You shoot them with the Glockinator, which, as I mentioned before, its biggest issue is range, and you're starting at a range, which means the Glockinator doesn't deal pretty much any damage. I mean, I think you probably hit him for like 50, 60. If you had been using something else that the Spray Blessing complements better, you would have probably been able to down or get this guy incredibly injured. Now, you do manage to get it down, so hurrah. Except,
Shit, he baited me out in the open.
yes, congratulations, you spotted it. This is the biggest issue. Yet again, you're using a Glockinator, you need to be up close and personal. Biggest issue here, you don't have much gap closing abilities like whatsoever. You have a teleport book, which is pretty obvious and showcases your thing, and it's also on a timer, and you have a sawed off, which requires you to not be facing the enemy to be able to use effectively. You don't have any speed blessings, and I think you swapped out your dash blessing, which means you can't close the gap, which means that means you have to go to your enemies, and it takes you a while to get to your enemies. Problem is, that means your enemies with their medium range guns can now shoot you, and that's exactly what happens here. You get shot twice.
However, dynamite.
Okay, I will admit that's pretty good dynamite. Except, since you're out in the open, and yet again you're playing at range with a Glockinator, you can't do much. Even though you manage to land absolutely marvelous dynamite, you can't get the kill because your weapon doesn't deal enough damage at that range. And you also get yourself shot and down to pretty much no health whatsoever. Now you are lucky that that there's a fight going on right here. You decide to go after the Grand guy, which, okay, I will admit that's actually pretty well played on your end. So, some minor applause there. Whoop-de-doo. But still, yet again, you teleport over. This guy doesn't know where you are. You can very clearly see he's not looking for you. Throw a volley grenade. Throw a splinter grenade. You're going to be able to either get it down or severely injure him and then follow it up with a Glockinator. Not start with a Glockinator and not be able to, not first whiff all your shots and then B, have to run after him. Now, okay, you do get the kill, but...
Oh, yeah.
First, please pay attention to audio cues. If you hear something that sounds like a shotgun shot right next to you, it's probably a shotgun right next to you. Secondly, you were just in an incredibly active and incredibly drawn-out firefight that lasted about, what was this? It's 27... 45 seconds? This was a 45-second fight. That's incredibly long. This means that it's either a very big squad who died, two very big squads who ran into each other, or a very bad player who somehow managed to win a fight. All of those scream a lot of loot, so that means anybody in the area is probably going to come to try and loot whatever is left, or pick off whoever is left remaining. Which is why you standing out in the open like this is one of the stupidest things you could possibly be doing right now. Like, you have a cage grenade, throw down the cage grenade, or if you actually bothered to carry some, like, more defensive grenades, you could throw down, like, a wall grenade or a smoke grenade, or maybe a shield, but stuff like that. Or, even better, don't loot right after you finish a fight. Make sure that the area is clear, there's nobody around and everything, and then go loot. And also, just pay more attention.
Oh my god, there wasn't even any sound.
There was. You are just oblivious. Pay more attention to your dings. Visual / audio cues. This actually goes for the same thing as earlier in the Area 64 fight with the ice wall and everything, all the way over here. No, this was earlier. Finland, and then, no, hold on, where was it? You know what fight I'm talking about, the one where you dropped Area 64, and then, yeah, that fight. That fight went terribly because, actually, it should be right around here. Yeah, this fight, the fight with Fredo. This one went absolutely badly because exactly what happened is that you did not pay attention to any of the visual cues. You didn't pay attention to the grenade, the person very clearly walking across the street right over here. and then the giant ice wall that's thrown in a way that says there's danger over here coming from danger over here. That's a visual cue. And it's also the snowstorm grenade that just disappeared.
There's people here.
So, yeah. Just pay like a bit more attention. And also, like, think things through. If you just finish a fight, there's probably going to be people interested in what just happened. So, pay attention to that. Okay, what's next? This is you've improved you've improved from last time, but you still have many things to work on.
Tall works.
This is just looting, isn't it? Okay, I'm drawing this down. It's not relevant right now. And now it is. Okay, so guns in TAVG have basically places where they want to be used and places where they don't want to be used. For example, let's take the AK-47 right here. AK-47 is an all-around rifle. You can use it at close range. It's best used at medium range, and it can be used at long range. Something like the Kar-98, which is a sniper rifle. It's not very good at short range. It's okayish at medium range, and it's ideal at long range. And then something like the Vector submachine gun is decent is quite good close range. Like loses a bit of starts losing power as you approach medium range, and is pretty much not used about long range. That means that most of the time when you're building a loadout, you want to have one thing per category. So, for example, if I'm taking something like the AK, which is a bit weaker at close range and a bit weaker at long range, what I could do is I could have myself a very good close range weapon like the Tech 9 as my third slot, and I could have something like a sniper rifle. What that means is that the long of my loadout, the sniper rifle covers long range, so I can fight well at long range. The rifle, I can fight well at medium, or with the rifle, I can fight well at medium range, and with the rifle and with the pistol, since the rifle is usable and then the pistol is good at short range, I have all my ranges covered. Here, however, you have absolutely none of that. And actually, this is an issue that happened before with the Glockinator. What you have right now is you have two rifles. You have the VSS and you have the AK. Now, the AK, as I mentioned before, is pretty good at medium range, as is the VSS. The VSS is like medium to medium long range. Problem is, you don't have any good short range weapons right now. Can you use the AK and the VSS at short range? Yeah, they're pretty good at it. You're still going to lose out to most submachine guns, though. And you don't have that in your third slot. Your third slot is used for sawed-off, which means you lose one out of your three slots in your loadout for like fighting potential. It's purely mobility. So what this means is that suddenly, when you get into a close range fight, you're going to be fighting at a disadvantage compared to other people, which is really bad because you take a lot of close range fights and also most of the time you take close range fights in this game. This is also what happened beforehand with the Glockinator. When you picked up that loadout with the Glockinator, the biggest issue there is that you could not fight at medium range because most submachine guns. So yeah, for reference, most submachine guns minus the MP5K and the Glockinator can be used semi-effectively in medium range. There are some like the MP40 and the UMP that are the best out of the bunch for medium range, and like short to medium range, so like 15 to 25 meters, more or less. After that, they start losing damage, and it's kind of difficult to hit shots with. The Glockinator is not one of those weapons. The Glockinator's effective range is about 10 to 15 meters, which means that as soon as you have a fight over 15 meters, you're going to be in a lot of trouble because you cannot hit your target. Either you quite literally just can't hit them because of recoil and the gun's terrible statistics at range, or you're going to be hitting them for about 5 to 7 damage, which is pretty much nothing. And as we saw beforehand, that you took what was what could have been like a 15-second fight, and it lasted 3 times that because all those moments that you had to do mid-range fighting because you couldn't close the distance and because your weapon wasn't very good at medium range, that extended it. For example, that first person, this is at 35. Okay, if we actually rewind here, this is what happened right here. If you had, let's say, the Thompson right here, you land about 5 to 6 shots. Now, you probably would have hit a different amount of shots because of different fire rate, recoil, whatever. Let's say you still hit the same 5 shots. With Thompson, that person is now dead because it takes 5 shots with Thompson to kill, especially if you manage to land a headshot. You managed to land a headshot. Fantastic. This person is suddenly dead, down. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You would have saved yourself 6 seconds. What also means is that you didn't have to. What would have also happened is that you could have stuck behind this rock and you didn't have to run across this very open terrain directly in sight of the enemies to have to shoot this person. They would be downed right now, and then you could back up to those rocks and start fighting the other people. And you don't do that. You have to chase over them, and now you're in a bad spot because, as you can see here, you try shooting this person and you can't because you can't fight at medium range. Because you can't build loadouts. This is the issue. So, for reference, Troy says, a medium range plus 1 to 2 short range weapons. What I mean by this, unless you're using a very specific thing, such as Storm, which usually requires very high fire rate weapons like dual Mac 10s, unless you're doing something like that, which is a very specific niche loadout, for most of your loadouts you should have one medium range weapon and one short range weapon, 1 to 2 short range weapon depending on your pistol slot and how the rifle works. For example, AK plus Thompson. The AK is very good at medium range, the Thompson is very good at short range, and the AK can also be used at short range if you can't if you can't use the Thompson. That's a good example. Another pretty good example would be the Scar plus the Vector. The Scar is quite good, is actually excellent at medium range, but isn't necessarily quite good at short range, whereas the Vector is really good at short range. So you have your Vector for your short range encounters, and you have the Scar for your medium range encounters. And so suddenly both categories are filled out, and you don't have to worry about them. And except you're not doing this, and what this means is that now when you get in a fight, you have 2 weapons that are not very good at short range. So let's say the enemy has something like, oh, I don't know, an AA-12 or something. You're probably going to lose because the AA-12 is very good at short range. Your weapons are not really great at short range, and so you're simply going to lose because you're fighting at a range that's not optimal for your weapons. So please just build your loadouts better. One short range weapon, it could be a submachine gun, shotgun, melee weapon, whatever it is. It doesn't matter. Just a short range weapon and a medium range weapon. Like, you could use the M14. The M14 is technically a DMR. It's not actually an assault rifle. If you do M14 plus katana, that's kind of an evil loadout, but it still fits the requirements. M14 is your medium range weapon, and it works fairly well at short range, and then your katana is for very short range and for closing the distance. To use the slash function of the katana. That's what I'm talking about. Just stop building loadouts like this. Stop, basically, unless you're using Storm, do not do things like the Glockinator build like this or this dual rifle setup. You're basically setting yourself up for failure in the future. And also, legendary lip beats. That is an unfortunate find because, fun fact, lip beats, all the different rarities of lip beats don't mean anything whatsoever. It's the same damage across all 3 of them. It's bugged.
I was about to say, don't tell me.
So,
Fuck, shit.
okay. So this is the same issue as the Glockinator thing as before, except even worse because now you have, okay, I will admit you have a pretty good medium range option, and then the VSS can also be used at short range. Problem is, you are a terrible shot. This is actually the biggest issue of this episode. You cannot hit your shots at medium range. You've talked about this before. We can see it in the gameplay and everything. EATER is a terrible shot past 20 meters or so. He can hit like pretty much nothing, actually. And this is a very big issue, mainly because, well, the numerous issues, I'll go over them later on as they happen. But especially here, you have a weapon that's good at medium range. That's fantastic. You can't fight at medium range, so that basically means is that you're handicapping yourself at short range with the weapon, and then when you have to take those fights at medium range, which your weapon is actually suited for, you can't. It doesn't actually matter because you can't hit your shots. So you're basically losing on short range and at medium range with your current setup. So, yeah. Also, fun piece of tech there. You can actually use lit beats plus teleport to travel a lot further. It's very cool. Start your fights with the right weapons. If you start this fight with an implosion grenade, you can use your teleport spellbook, or even not the teleport, your dash blessing, get over there, beam the person with your VSS, and then turn around and deal with the other person before they even realize you're there. And instead, that's not what happens, and now you're under fire from two people at once. One of them with a minigun. Actually, it's a mega gun, but as they're flying, so you can tell it's a gun. Okay, I will admit that's pretty decent. You actually, that was a good implosion grenade, I will admit. You threw them there because you knew that they were going to run at you, and then you beamed them when they're downed. Well done. But still. Bloody hell. Also, yet again, you're just at the scene of a fight. A very, very loud fight, especially given that the enemy had a mega gun. Most of the time, if you hear an incredibly stretched out duration of gunfire like that, it means a couple of things. Well, it usually means that the person has either a minigun or one of the machine guns. All of those are equally scary. So any decent player is going to be like, alrighty, that's a problem, person. I'm going to go over and third party that fight so I can get them out of my lobby so I don't have to deal with them in final zone when they proceed to just run at me and ruin my day. Which probably means that had there been like an actually decent person around, you would probably be getting jumped at right now. Also, you're just standing out in the open, just prone, just prone. Like, it's not fantastic, but at least you're more difficult to hit. Like, for frick's sakes. Also, you didn't heal up before looting. You could have easily been body shot by a sniper rifle. Okay. Oh, no, it's this fight. Okay, so. You land over here. The track spell spots somebody and it goes through a wall, so they're probably nearby. And now we see where the issues come up of when you choose to build loadouts. You have the VSS and you're fighting at very close quarters. The VSS is incredibly unwieldy. As you can see, it jitters around, and it also doesn't have that much ammo compared to most submachine guns. It also has a pretty slow reload, actually. So what happens is that instead of either downing this guy or, yeah, you could have most likely downed that guy had you been using the submachine gun. You don't, and instead what you have to do is you actually have to run away, and you have to use a fire grenade. Also, this is just a bad play on your end. Most people are never alone, and basically. So you threw down a fire grenade, that means the person's not going to chase you there. So that means they have two options. They either have to go up here, or they have to wrap around to the side here. What do you have? You have a ton of rocks, and you also have the entire other side of this place where you could go hide and heal, or you could even go to the rocks over here. Except you don't do any of that. What you do is you teleport out into the open. And you start healing out in the open. You are an incredibly easy shot, and you actually, had that person hit like a limb instead of like your hand, you'd probably be dead right now. Except you're just incredibly lucky that they are awful shots, so you're not dead right now. Also, you have a VSS. You could quite easily beam that person from right there, and instead of trying to get close to them with your weapon that's bad at close range, as I mentioned before when explaining why you can't build, why you are terrible at building loadouts. Now, you are lucky. People do not pay nearly enough attention to dynamites, so you managed to get that off. So congratulations.
When it works.
Except you're only 60 health. During this entire stretch here, basically, starting now, you could have been using a bandage. Or even not then, right now you could be using a bandage.
But you know.
Instead, what you decide to do is you decide to jump back right next to where the other person that you were fighting got downed, which their teammate is probably going to be right next to you. So you're basically throwing yourself into the line of enemy fire yet again, and you are incredibly low health. And as you can see, you miss all of your shots because actually you're. It's not even that. Is that you're fighting so close range with the gun actually gets stuck on the other person, and then you get caught, and you get caught going around the corner because of lag. This is just how do I even word this? Okay. Please, first off, please start building yourself proper loadouts, like a close range weapon plus a long range weapon. Spellbooks are nice to know. Teleport is a very good spellbook. Track is very good spellbook. Sawed off is very good. You don't need to have all three of them. It also, because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how much mobility you have if you can't fight. Like I could have myself a healing spellbook, a teleport spellbook, healing spellbook, teleport spellbook, track spellbook, and then like speed aura, and then like a 1911 or something. It doesn't matter how many spellbooks or like even if you replace teleport with like a saw or something. It doesn't matter how much utility I have. If I'm just stuck with a 1911 and I'm fighting full squads, I'm not going to win most of the time because I just can't fight because you're sacrificing fighting potential for utility. Problem is, seeing as your capacity for fighting potential is already so low because of bad decisions you make and your not good aim, the utility that you get doesn't really matter. Like the thing you like actually, for example, this thing you did with the teleport is nice and all. That was like you could have done that with also like 3 seconds of walking, which you could have actually like medkitted during.
Works.
Also, why do you just why do you not just throw like a cluster grenade here? Like use your grenades more. You need to use your grenades more. You have like 5 billion of them.
What?
Okay, whatever. Just um. They don't matter. You it doesn't matter how many sawed-offs or spell books or other things you have. They aren't going to help if you can't take fights and if you're handicapping yourself in fights, which you are doing. You did just that in a Glockinator fight, and now you've done that in this VSS fight. Okay.
What is not? It is not a good day today.
So you managed to stick around, even though you get a curse, and it's a curse small mag, which, I mean, it's not fantastic, but it's doable. Honestly, what you should probably the first thing you should probably be doing now is well, I don't know what you're doing. You see somebody running over on the horizon up there. You should probably be looking for shotguns or sniper rifles. Actually, you missed the crossbow pistol, which would have been very nice. The biggest issue with small mag is that you have very limited ammunition, or it reduces the amount of ammunition you can hold in your gun, which for most fully automatic guns, that's really bad because the fully automatic guns rely on being able to hit a lot of shots, a lot of shots, and can like continuously. Well, like shotguns and sniper rifles don't really matter or don't really care about that. Like I'm pretty sure like the Kar 98 goes from 5 bullets down to 1. But seeing as you can still deal 78 damage with 1 bullet, you hit somebody with like a torso shot and then follow it up with like a scar shot or something, they're still going to be down, so it doesn't really matter. Also, on that note, you should be taking high damage weapons such as the MP44 or what you missed right here, the MP40. The MP40 is fantastic when you have a curse of small mag. Why? One, it has a bit more ammo than most guns. Two, it has incredibly high damage. It does 32 damage per shot. That's a 4-shot kill on a submachine gun. Even more if you land a headshot. Which means that the damage per bullet is higher, which means that even though you have less ammo, so basically MP44 or MP40 here is fantastic because even though you have less bullet, even though you have a curse of small mag, it doesn't matter because each bullet that you shoot out does more damage than most guns. So even though you might only be able to hold 8 of those bullets, you only need to hit 4, or I think it's like 8, 10 bullets. Even though you can only hold like let's say 10 bullets, you only need to land 4 bullets to get a kill. Whereas with like let's say the like the UMP or something, you need to land 6 bullets and you can only hold it's either like 5, 6, or 7 something. So you need to hit the entire magazine, which is quite difficult to do, and it does not have a fast reload. So yeah, when you have the curse of small mag, keep an eye out for high damage, low fire rate weapons. Now, obviously, you have to be a good shot with them, which is a different question, but still, they're going to be a much better bet than something like the UMP. Which, I mean, the UMP still hits hard, but still. I mean, the Thompson is also alright, but actually, Winchester here would have been a pretty good option, even though, okay, alright, well, melee weapon, however, is a very good choice here. Mainly because you don't need to reload melee weapons, they don't take ammo. Viking Axe, unfortunately, is not the best option because the alternate ability is not, it doesn't deal damage, unlike Rapier or Cutlass, or I think it's called Saber, or like any of the two-handed melee weapons. Also, you're running out in the middle of the zone. You should not have your map open. any team who is like standing right over here will be able to hold you. And then just okay. So you're actually starting a fight with a grenade. Well done. Except you missed the grenade completely. Okay. Yeah, pretty well done. Okay, good. So you're finally using grenades. Well done. So this is just a really bad spot to be in, I'm going to be honest. The ice wall there was actually a pretty good idea, except for the fact that you're now running directly into the enemy squad and you are half health. With no guns or something, you could have quite easily thrown down a snowstorm grenade and picked off that guy that was standing still, and then dealt with the other guys, or even healed up and then gone around. Or actually, even better, you could have skipped a lot of this. You do that, boom, you land that, start shooting him. You realize you miss all your shots. You're probably going to miss more of your shots. You have a melee weapon. It's a 3-hit kill. Go over and swing at him. This is why you take melee weapons. So you don't have to shoot people. He would be dead right now. And suddenly, the other guy would be also be alive. Which means that they probably wouldn't have thrown that grenade, which means you would probably still be at like, what, 90, 100 health or something. That means if you throw that grenade at this guy, the red guy right here, like you could have been able to shoot him and boom. Just think things through. I suppose it's the aim issue again, but I'm not going to talk about the aim issue because that's it's complicated. I want to see what else there is. Okay. So you're going point of impact. Okay. And you go AFK for a bit. Okay, dual 1911s. Not a terrible option, actually. You can make it work. And Thompson. Okay. Let's see how well you handle this. Okay, and a recoil mastery. Okay, or weapon mastery. That's good.
Hey, that guy's yellow. Wrong shade of yellow.
Okay. I will admit, that's a fantastic grenade. And you managed to land a couple good shots there. Well done. You should probably look for a different weapon, though. Yet again, you're building a loadout. You have 3 incredibly close range weapons here. You have no medium range weapon. Loot loot the Scar here instead of the 1911s. You're not using the 1911s. You have the Thompson. Swap out the 1911s then. Also, yeah, that's a pretty fair trade. Okay. Let's see. It's just more looting. More and more looting. Okay, so you have a fight here. How are you going to start this? I will admit this person is not... It is kind of clear that they are not a fantastic player. But still, at least start the fight with, like, the Luger. The Luger does more damage per bullet. Okay. Decent grenade. Wait. If you just threw a grenade into an area, don't run into the area, like, right afterwards. You're basically dealing free damage to yourself to help the enemies. It's pointless. Also, I disagree with this right here, where you swap the regen for the the hunt. You only have 2 kills. An extra 12% speed is not worth the passive healing over time that I think it was a regen blessing gets you. Also, you're healing out in the open. You are a very easy target right now. Alright. What's next? Okay. I can be honest, that was not super well played. The person very clearly saw you coming. You could have juked to the left here. Or to the right, actually. You could have also thrown a grenade, but I think that's a bit overkill.
Oh my god.
Okay. So.
Oh my god. Blueberry down. I repeat, blueberry down.
Yeah, just yeah, I don't even know what to say. This is just aim problems all over again.
I don't know which direction I should.
Okay. So, if you are an avid viewer, you will recognize something, or you'll actually realize a couple of things here. Number 1, this person is fighting somebody down here. Number 2, they have a lot of blessings. Number 3, they're in a bright red jumpsuit. And because of this, number 4, this is the same person that Bee-Eater died to last game. Number 5, Bee-Eater is only at 80 health because they did not heal up. Actually, no, I think they took a stray bit of damage. Yeah, I think they take a stray bullet here. Yeah. From behind, I think? This is Stadia Gamer. This is the guy that downed Bee-Eater last game. Which means you should not be starting the fight with a spray. What you should be doing, you should be starting the fight with a friggin' snowstorm. You know this player, and even if you don't know this player, they are A, very clearly preoccupied, and B, have a lot of blessings. That means they're probably a decent player. the first thing you should do is basically incapacitate them with a snowstorm grenade or an implosion grenade or whatever. Not a knockback grenade because that's unreliable. It would probably send them over the ridge, but incapacitate them, then shoot them. Because if you just spray them, they might turn around and just blunderbuss you. It happens. It's actually happened several times to you before, and especially because of your rather lackluster aim. If that person was paying a bit more attention, you would probably be dead right now. I'm pretty sure you're still dead right now, but also you're fighting out in the open again.
No.
Yep, that was target priority yet again.
Holy storm.
So, you take down this guy. Fantastic. This guy approaches you, you take the fight. Okay-ish. And then you just ignore him, the person you've already pretty much downed. And yeah, he's locked off by a bombardment grenade. Oh, well, actually, no, he does launch himself here. Gets himself launched, but still. You have a teleport book. What you could have done here is... Oh, I see. I think they got hit with the knockback and they get launched off the cliff. Still not a good fight. Okay, hold on. Let's see this again. So you do this. Yeah, so you see him throw the grenade. You could have just still run at him, you know? Like, even if it was just like a normal grenade, the fuse time would have made it so you only take like a tiny bit of damage, and you probably would have traded. Like, you would have been stunned, but you probably would have gotten that down. The other person is still on the bottom of the ridge. It's going to take them at least 2 seconds to get up here, given like the average amount of like speed blessings that people have around this time. Also, you don't need to be this close. Like,
No. Fucking hell.
it's an aim issue yet again. Let's see. So you come back, no curse. He lands up here. This is a spot that he likes a lot. It's a very good spot for loot. You can usually get 1 to 3 guns up here and a good amount of ammo. He also managed to get he gets himself a crate. And then
Is it my speed?
okay, so you're being shot at by an enemy squad, and they're an okay-ish shot.
Yeah.
You have 2 options here. Leave and just rotate to the right and get into zone, or B, run at them. You have an epic vampire, and you also have an epic storm call. You can deal a lot of damage to them incredibly quickly. You also have a snowstorm and a fire grenade. You can either lock them, like you can either trap them, lock them off, or just burn them alive. And instead, you proceed to do none of these. You do actually none of this. You don't even take pot shots at them. You just run at them. And you get shot by the other guy, and then it's literally just 2 minutes. It's the guys that he fought earlier that came back for revenge.
Push, for fuck's sake, push.
Also, grenades. Use your grenades more. You can throw down you can throw down a cage grenade to give yourself a cover, or if you hear the car horn to your left here, you would be realizing that you're about to get shot in the back. Throw down a snowstorm grenade. They can't move through it if they don't want to get themselves in trouble. Or throw down a fire grenade. Like right now, throw down a fire grenade. This person starts cooking. You back up. And also, because I believe vampire procs on grenades, you would be healing during this. But that one was just bad decisions. Okay. What's next? I'm just gonna skim this because. Okay.
That even works. I'm not dropping there. Alright. Lock in.
Remember to stay hydrated. Okay, big works. Which fight is this? Oh, this is the shotguns mode. Yeah, I don't really think much of mega interest happens here. Okay, actually, this should be interesting. Okay, well, but this is decently well played, but also That was blunderbuss. You kind of got lucky that they missed there. Okay, well done. You managed to take out that squad. Hi. Okay, building a loadout. Yet again, this is the same issue as before. You have 3 mobility weapons. You really don't need 3 mobility weapons. You have a legendary speed and 2 legendary dashes, and then 3 sawed-offs. You don't you literally cannot use this much mobility in a fight. It's too much mobility. It would be much better for you to have a blunderbuss, or if you don't like blunderbuss, a Mossberg 500 here to be able to one-shot somebody. Or actually, yeah, probably like a blunderbuss or something to be able to easily one-shot somebody, and then have your A12s as spray weapons. Okay, that's like the one scenario where... Oh, that was the guy from last game. Okay, I will admit that's pretty good there. You're going for the person with all of the blessings instead of the person without any blessings, except you whiffed all your shots. And then now you're getting shot by the people up top, probably because they're a 3-person squad. And so... like I mentioned before, you have too much mobility. You could have quite easily just jumped up here, double-barreled up to the roof here, healing grenade, and then shot them as they come up. You didn't. Instead, you decide to heal because you probably forgot about your sawed-offs. And boom, dead. As I mentioned before, it's too much mobility. You had so much mobility that you didn't know what to do with it, and when you should have probably, or would have been helpful to use it, you just didn't because you didn't think about it. Had you had like a blunderbuss there, you probably could have gotten a much easier kill on one of them. And then I forget what happens. It's just a lot of missing A12 shots. Missing more A12 shots. Trying to blow up a car. And then I think getting Arnold. Yep. Yeah, it happens. Okay, what's next? I think there's one more game and then... Or is this the game where you get the win? Okay. Thank you. This is how you build a loadout. You have your medium range weapon, and then you have your short range weapon, and then you have the third slot. And here you pick mobility. You have the AK for when you need to take medium range fights, and then you have the MP5K when you need to take short range fights. Thank you. Finally. It only took you an hour and 18 minutes to do so. And it only cost you 3 games. Well, actually, more than that, but a couple of the other ones were... okay, this is also fine. It only costs you about, like... I think it was 3 games you died to bad loadouts, and then another 2 was to too much utility. Or more or less that. Okay. Let's see this. So you managed to get a very lucky run somebody over. And then you use charge here to just completely outstrafe their aim and get that kill. And you're proning to loot. Thank you. Well done. You're still carrying around too much stuff. You're never going to use big ammo. You're never going to use bolts. And also probably not cardio. Well, maybe cardio, but not vampire. Okay, maybe, but still. You have 2 dead slots in your inventory, basically. Yeah, I suppose that's fair. Also, this is the magic of the jump blessing. As you can see here, with the jump blessing, he can get this rooftop no hassle. Normally, you have to do about like 10 to 15 seconds of parkour along like the pipes here to get to the windows to try and drag yourself up. You can just jump up here. It's quite convenient. let's see this. Okay. So you spot somebody, and then I'll admit you should have probably gone for that guy first instead of the other guy because he was the one with all the blessings, but you're not going to put on the accuracy barrel, are you? You don't put on the accuracy barrel. Thompson suffers from very high inaccuracy statistic. It would be incredibly useful if you threw on an accuracy barrel. Okay, you do. Just takes you, how about 20 seconds? Okay, hold on. What happens here? Oh no, you're just ditching stuff. More running around. Okay, let's see this fight. Alrighty, so first things first, you throw a grenade, and you manage to get it. You're gonna get yourself a down. Now they do manage to get themselves a lucky grand shot, but alrighty. So you back up, you throw another grenade, you get yourself another knockout. He healing books you, which is fantastic, and then even though you have slightly worse aim here, or you have not great aim, because of that you actually managed to get him. Well done. That was actually a pretty decent fight, I will admit. Okay, this. So you're getting shot at by somebody up top with an M14, I believe it is. I'm just gonna let this play out and then I'm gonna rewind it. So you keep getting shot at. You decide to wait for some reason when it could quite easily be a squad and they have a person with a blunderbuss running at you. You jump down, try to leave, and then get shot at. You throw a grenade, which is a good idea actually, especially a knockback grenade to get him off height. It whiffs completely. You jump up for not much of a reason, and then you get yourself shot again and again. You could bandage this right now. You're just sitting here waiting. Okay. This guy has no loot whatsoever. He's a simple kill. And it's the guy from before, actually. Alrighty. Alrighty. Well done.
Thank you kindly.
Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to rewind here. Okay. So, you're stuck here. And you got somebody up above who is taking pot shots at you. Do you know what you do here? You heal up. And then you walk off the side and go around. You can't shoot through walls in this game, minus very specific lag scenarios. So what can you do? You can jump off the railing here. He can't see you. You can drop down. He still can't see you. And then you can start going all the way up here to go up these stairs here and pop up back here. Or you can go all the way around. Or maybe you could go to your left here. I can't show it, but you can go to the left here and wrap around and then ambush him with the jumps blessing you have. And even better, if he decides to chase you through this, you have the advantage because he's dropping down and he doesn't know where you are. You know where he is because he has to be coming from one area. There's only one area you can jump off from. This entire railing section. You could be behind this rock. You could be behind the staircase. On the staircase, you could be behind the little pipes here. You could jump up to the tree. You could whatever. You could even grenade up here as you jump off. And so if he tries to run after you, you can't do that. And instead, what you do is that you just basically play peekaboo for 30 seconds straight. 15, 20 seconds of playing peekaboo. That was completely unneeded, and you could have quite easily just left and then taken a different route to pick him off. Oh, hold on. Grenade, the person doesn't pay attention, and then you run at them and beam them. Okay. Good. Alright, let's see this. You got 3 people here. Let's see if you get mileage. Okay, you did actually get some mileage out of the bouncy grenade. It forced them to split up. for a bit.
Nope, don't need it.
And then I'm guessing you pick them off one by one. Yep. Okay, well done. Okay. Pretty good. Now, we'll rewind a bit. Now, admittedly, they did catch you off guard, which is fair. Still. First thing about this fight that's bad, you're standing out in the middle of the open. Again, now you do have a lot of speed, I will give you that, and you also have higher max health. Still, though, standing out in the open here means that you can get shot by this guy, and the guy on the roof here, and the guy down here to the left. If instead of jumping around up in the open here, you had run over here and fought in this area, you have this tree as cover here. You have these cars as cover. You have this car as cover. You have just the actual snow hill itself as cover. And then only this guy can shoot you because the other guy has to run up to get to you, and this guy has to run across the rooftops. This is very good because it means you can pick this guy off, and then you can either jump or you can escape into the buildings, parkour your way up onto the roofs, pick off the second guy, and then go and pick off the third guy. And instead, you none of that. You just sit in this like little open snowdrift area, and what it means is that if you didn't have Bloodless here, you would be dead. And actually, I think one of the I will admit the bouncy grenade was actually a pretty good play to escape. But if not for that and the third-party distraction, you would probably be dead here, or at least if not dead, in a much worse state. Also, yeah,
Nope, don't need it.
it's a pretty good squad that's been hitting you a lot. Heal up to full, or at least near it. I will admit, because they were poisoned, that probably means they took a decent amount of damage. Starting to, like, throwing a grenade wasn't necessary. Here, though, you could have probably thrown a splinter grenade and then just walked off and ignored it. Okay, you're getting shot in the back now by this guy. And you threw a grenade to force him out of cover. Well done! And you whiff all your shots, but... Okay. 12 kill win. Pretty good. Okay. Okay, so, the aim thing. This is actually a multi-leveled issue. So, paint. So, EATER does not have good aim. This is kind of obvious. It's like one of the things that I've been bringing up, and it's been it's been an issue for a bit. Now, there are a couple of reasons why this is an issue. Actually, Phil, give me a minute. I do not know how to use this app. Okay. This is EATER in blue. This is his opponent in red. So, issue number one with his bad aim. EATER cannot hit his shots, which means he can't finish fights or he can't win fights. This is kind of, or actually, please improve your, hold on. This is a multi-level issue. So, number one, he cannot kill enemies. This is kind of obvious. He's in close quarters fights. He misses all of his shots. His enemies don't die. That's kind of pretty obvious. You need to have good aim if you want to actually kill your enemies. However, issue number two, he's forced to take bad fights. Why is this? Well, okay. So let's say this is the enemy and this is EATER, and we're going to draw a line here for hold on. Nope. Okay. This line right here is 0. I will tape it out actually. This enemy, if EATER is standing on this line, this would mean he would be 0 meters away from the enemy. this line. This is obviously not to scale, for if you hadn't already guessed that. Actually, hold on. Move that closer. Can I? Nope. Okay. Okay, so this will be 20 meters, and this will be 30 meters. So, the second issue of BE not being able to hit his shots is that he has to take bad fights. What do I mean by this? Well, normally most fights start, depending on how you play and everything, at about 30-ish meters. Well, it depends, but medium range for this game is 20 to 30 meters, so in between right here. So actually, I would like this zone right here. Yeah. This zone right here is medium range for most purposes. It's where most medium range fights with like rifles and stuff like that is going to happen. Most of the time, if you're a decent shot, you can fight in medium range, and it's okay. And admittedly, when you're playing solo squads, it's an issue because, well, there are more people to deal with, but if you're a good enough shot, you can just pick people off slowly by slowly, use grenades and stuff like that, and it's fine. Close range, however, in this game is usually 0 to 10 meters, or actually, it's usually 0 to 15 meters, right about here. And it is like 15 to 20 meters is like the awkward area, but so this is like the CQC area. This is where fights with some machine guns, shotguns, machine guns, and other stuff tends to happen and everything. So most of the time, you're probably going to want to take your fights in this area, in between 0 and 15 meters. Okay, fair. Actually, hold on. Yeah, see. Okay. Most of the time, yeah, you can do that. You can take your fights at 15 meters. That's okay. So right about here. He's shooting, they're fighting each other and everything. And for the most case, yeah, that's going to be alright. Problem is, what happens when suddenly he doesn't, like, what happens when the fight suddenly starts at 30 meters? Let's say the enemy has, like, a Grand or something, and B-Eater is with his AK and his submachine gun. Problem is, B-Eater has incredibly bad aim, especially at medium range. What does this mean? Is that it means if he has the AK and the enemy has the Grand, the enemy is probably going to kill him with the Grand before B-Eater kills him with the AK. So what happens? This entire red zone is skipped. B-Eater is forced to move to the green zone. Here's the problem. A lot of the times, he doesn't, like, taking these fights in the green zone is really, really bad. You can actually see it right here. If we rewind to the VSS fight, all the way, not here. No, this is this one. It's this game. Okay. If the video would like to load. Actually, as you can see here, this is the exact issue that happens in this fight, is that because of B-Eater's bad aim, he is forced to get up close. We will see this in just a moment. So, he's healing up, yada yada, goes, finds the enemy. This person is completely oblivious. Okay, so he starts shooting him. You get, if you don't notice, B-Eater is closing the distance with his enemy. He's getting as close as he can to the enemy. This is because the closer you are to your enemy, the easier it is to hit shots. It's kind of obvious. If you are standing, actually, hold on. Actually, I'll put a second diagram here. If you're standing this far away, the enemy will look about like this big for you. This is just like a purely visual example. If you're standing 5 meters away, this is what the enemy will look like to you, assuming you are standing. Yeah. So, if you're standing 5 meters away, this is what the enemy looks like for you. If you're standing, let's say 10 meters away, suddenly the enemy gets quite a bit smaller. And as you can see here, they've gone down in size. It's still pretty big target to hit, but it's less accurate. Suddenly, if you go out to 15 meters, Well, that's where the issues start. Because suddenly, at 15 meters, the enemy is a very small target to hit. So, what does this mean? Is that basically, because of Bee-Eater's bad aim, he needs to make the target the biggest. He needs to make the targets as big as possible, so he has a higher chance of hitting his shots. The closer you are to an enemy, the easier it is to hit your shots because they're quite literally bigger. They take up more of your screen. So that means that instead of taking shots at fights at 15 meters, he closes the distance to 10 meters, or even sometimes, as you'll see right here, he is 5 meters away from this enemy with a VSS. You should never be this close to an enemy whilst having a VSS. It's a terrible thing to do. The VSS loses to pretty much most, if not all, submachine guns, and you also have a serious chance of the gun's model itself getting caught on the enemy. Problem is, Bee-Eater doesn't like. Problem is, so that's the problem, is that the closer that you get to the enemy, the worse it is, especially given this. It also means that, given Bee-Eater's naturally bad aim, even though he is closing the distance with it, he's still going to whiff shots. This is also bad because he's playing in solo squads, which means that suddenly, if this were solos, okay, fine, barrel stuffing, which is running like face first into your enemy to get as close to them as possible, whatever. Sure, you can do it. If you're skilled enough, you can do it. In solo squads, however, it's really, really bad because most of the time, squads tend to play close to each other. So if he has to get, as I mentioned before, if he wants to play like this, if he wants this target to be this close, he has to play. If we go back to our low range indicator, he has to play this close, 5 meters away, which means that he's very much directly not only in the line of fire of the person that he's obviously fighting, but in the line of fire of everybody else. Whereas if he sat back a little bit and just took fights at like 10, 15 meters or something, he could play a bit more from cover. We actually see this right here in the final fight over in City. Right here, actually. This is like the clear, this is just like a perfect example of what I'm talking about. Okay, so he's playing around here, boom. Notice how during that entire time, this entire fight, he's never more than 10 meters from his enemy. As I mentioned before, this is here. As you can see here, he's never more than 10 meters from his enemy. So hitting them, in theory, is actually pretty decent. They're a pretty big target, as you can see here. If I can go back frame by frame, ignoring all the whiffs. As you can see here, bad color. This is a pretty easy target to shoot. It's a big target. You have a decent amount of chance to hit your shots. As you can see, if we go back to here, whoops. If we go back to here, this is what the enemy is like. It's a pretty easy target to hit. So that's why he does it. He closes the distance. However, as I mentioned before, during this entire time, he's in the line of fire of all of the other buddies. Now, admittedly, the guy on the roof is a terrible shot, but still. Because he had to play so, basically, because Bee-Eater is forced to play like either this or this, because he can't hit shots otherwise, he's forced to play super close range. What this means is that he is forced to play out in the open because the enemies are out in the open. So the enemies are in the open, he has to play out in the open to actually be able to hit them because he plays in the 5 to 10 meter range. This is bad because then he puts himself at risk of being shot by other people. And then obviously since you're 1 against 2, 1 against 2, 1 against 3, 1 against 4, because it's solo squads, you take a lot more damage. And naturally, as you can see here, he took like 80% of his health bar. Now let's say we rewind and we imagine this fight from a different scenario. So let's say Bee-Eater, instead of this, is actually a pretty good shot. And suddenly, instead of playing at like 10 meters or everything, he plays from 15 to like 15 meters, the maximum range where some machine guns start losing effectiveness, but you can still use them fine. So, go back to the video example here. First thing Bee-Eater would probably do is run around and sit and play around this house over here. Because, well, he doesn't need to be directly in the enemy's face. What does this do? Well, actually, hold on. If I can... If we... there we go. So, let's assume that BEATER can fight from 15 meters instead of the 5 to 10 meters that he currently fights at. So what would this mean is that instead of staying where he is right now, which is on this hillside out in the open, he could stand around here and play within this doorway. What does this do? Well, suddenly, this person over here can't shoot him because he's on a rooftop, he can't shoot through windows. And the third teammate, who is somewhere over here, suddenly has to either wrap around here to back this guy up or wrap around here and cut through the middle of the building. What that also means is that suddenly, so because of that, BEATER only has to fight one person at a time. Second thing, he also has a lower chance of getting shot. So actually, if we'll see right here, instead of being in the line of fire of that guy and then the other guy, he would be standing right here, and he would only be in the line of fire of this guy. But also, as you can see here, this guy has a vector. The vector starts losing power at 15 meters. This means that he has a Thompson. Thompson, I believe, or yeah, most of the time, Thompson beats vector at about 15 meters, which means that he could probably get the down on this guy. And then what he could do is he has a couple options. He could either jump up onto the roof, cut through the building, cut back around back, and shoot these guys. And even then, like let's assume that he doesn't do that, he still wouldn't have to stand out here, as you can see during this entire segment where he takes far too much damage. Where he does the laying down thing and he gets hit with the scar. What he could have done instead is he could have backed up and played around this tree. And not only is that cover that protects from the other person and this person, but he's also playing at a further range, which means that this guy's shots are, I mean, he is using the scar, but still, it's less likely for him to hit you. Now, so that's the second big issue with aim, is that basically worse aim means play closer and thus at more of a The fights take too long thing is a kind of obvious one, but this is the big thing. Basically, for you, BEATER, you have to improve your aim, because if you don't improve your aim, you're going to keep playing badly, or not playing badly, but you're going to keep putting yourself in very bad fights that you are basically the odds where the odds are against you, because you have to play up close, which means you take bad fights. You take bad fights, you have a very low chance of winning, and then you obviously die and fail. So that's the big thing here, is that you have to improve your aim. Now, how do you improve your aim? That's up in the air. Honestly, just daily games, drills, like literally just go into the firing range, practice shooting, do death matches, play more games. Practice using rifles. I know you don't like medium range rifles. You have to have one, and you have to know when is the correct moment to play in this 20 or 30 meter range, and when it's a correct moment to play in the 10 to 15 meter range, because otherwise you're just going to keep doing the same thing, where you have to play like this, where the target is as big as possible, and all that happens is that you just get yourself gunned down because you're playing out in the open in front of a lot of people, and you still can't hit your shots. So anyways, that's the third review. Honestly, BEATER is improving, but these are the big ones, and if he does not improve his aim, I see it very difficult for him to actually improve much more. Mainly just because of what I mentioned before, is that he's making bad decisions because he has bad aim. And because of that, he's obviously losing fights. Everything else, like, there are several moments where he plays incredibly well, but those are kind of just nullified because, well, those good moments and everything are nullified because he just has to take shitty fights because he can't hit enemies otherwise. So, yeah, good luck. Yeah, just focus for BEATER. Just focus on your aim. Like, start fights with grenades. If the enemy has like even looks like they are dangerous, just start fights with grenades. You'll get your grenades back. Please just build your loadouts correctly. You don't need 3 sawed-offs. And improve your aim, because otherwise you're never going to be able to get more than like 20-ish kills because you're just dying to bad fights, especially if you have to deal with much better players who are not going to give you the leeway that bad players do. Because with leeways, you can actually, I suppose this is the other thing, is that with bad players, you can get away with this right here, this barrel stuffing technique and everything. With good players, this does not work because not only is the player he's fighting against being going to be able to hit him, um, rather easily. On top of that, all the other people are still going to be able to hit them because they can play from the 15-meter with submachine guns and then 20-30 with rifles. Because that means you're just going to get cut down every single time you try to fight a good squad. So, yeah. Mostly, the biggest thing you need to work on now is your aim. It's quite literally just your aim. But good luck. Yeah. Anyways, for everybody else, thank you all for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video review. If you want to have your game submitted, or have me look at your gameplay and give you feedback on how to improve, leave a comment, join Discord, subscribe because I'm gonna keep doing more of these, and I hope you guys learn something from them. So yeah, thank you all, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Ciao.